Hey guys, it's Timmy. Thanks for joining me. We're going to do the prayer call for today. And I'm going to do the devotional. And I'm going to read something special. I don't know, it's my keyword verse on the tab for the BibleGateway.com. It's the same verse that pops up every time I pull it up. And I used it as a reminder. It's not new. It's old, but we'll read it. And, hard copy style. So we're going to go out into the woods, into the spot. It's not hot today. It's really humid, but it rained, and it's supposed to rain all week. We ain't got that much rain, but it feels a little bit like, if you could call the middle 80s highly humid, if you could call that autumn or fall weather. That's what it feels like, so I'm thankful. We finished the Proverbs. We did all 31 days. I think we missed one day, and we made up for it the next day, so we did 30 days back to back to back. Pretty proud of us, actually. So we had to figure out, I took about 2 days off, so everything's cool. Kind of stressed out today, to be honest, but hey, life is not without its stresses, so guess you just roll with the punches. That's what I've been saying, so I need to take my own advice and roll with it, so we'll see what happens. Of course, I always say things will get worse before they get better, so expect the worst, hope for the best. Hope floats, that's how I feel about it. So maybe that's a bad strategy sometimes, to get caught up in your thoughts and your feelings, but we're all human, so it's hard not to be human. And it's always a process. Y'all know me, I'm always talking about the process. So I've had a lot of questions about schedule for the live prayer calls. I don't have a schedule yet. I just kind of have done it as the Spirit moved. And I heard in September, about the second week of September, it looked like, maybe third, they're going to take Google Hangouts off as an option for live feed for YouTube. So I'll figure out an alternative option on another platform or something, but I think you have to use YouTube Live, and I have no idea what that is, so I'll figure it out. But I might go back to the old school like this, just the video, me walking and talking, and a little less engaged in the audience. But I was really happy to see everybody firsthand, personally, in the chat, and anybody who couldn't make it to come later. Really appreciate everybody, and the participation to me is where it's at. So I really like engaging the chat, although sometimes I wish I was more in there instead of the one on the camera, but I guess you gotta diversify, division of labor. So anyways, I don't have a whole lot to say, really. Proverbs was awesome. I've done that a few times in my life where I did every day for a month. I don't know if I've ever done the full month before, all in one row. I've done it about 50 times, so between the 50 times, I've probably done it about 3 to 5 times total. But it's always better if you can have consistency and self-discipline, which I lack many, many times. So, but you gotta start somewhere, and I appreciate everybody coming, because it's, I've said it before, I'll say it again, if this is all you do, spend some time with me, spending time with God, well, you're spending time with God too. And 2 or more in His name are gathered. I come in the name of the one who sent me. The name of my Father who's in heaven. So, and the ambassador and whose steps I follow is Christ. So, coming in the name of the good gospel for the Great Commission's sake. If you guys want to participate, then you're doing it too. So, I mean, what more could you ask for? I don't know. Maybe read a little bit more on your own. Maybe. I'm thinking about starting in Genesis and just reading the Bible a chapter at a time. One chapter from the Old Testament, one chapter from the New Testament. I'm thinking about doing that for the prayer calls to substitute for Proverbs and Psalms. We'll see. I haven't got any confirmation yet. But I do need to finish the Games of Thrones 2. I'm working on that, and that's going really slow, so just bear with me. I'm not really worried about the viral videos and stuff, so if one of these ever went viral, I think the world might change, but good luck. I don't have the word exposed in the title, so I probably won't get a whole lot of traction. But I've always said, if y'all can see a title in the prayer call playlist that catches you, or your attention or resonates with you, watch that one. Because I always say what people are meant to watch the videos when they're meant to watch them. It's not always like, hey, the newest video is out, I gotta check it out. It's not always like that. God's retroactive, you know. He's outside of time, so he knows when you're gonna watch a video. Think about that for a minute. He knows when you need to hear a specific message. Think about that for a minute. So it's a lot more humid down here by the water, so sorry if I'm all heavy breathing. I'm not trying to get creepy on you guys, I promise. And this shouldn't take too long. Probably won't be an hour-long video or anything, but we'll just see. Not too worried about it. It's not like I have anything else better to do right now. It's definitely a quiet day, and it looks ominous up in the clouds. And pray for everybody who's getting hit hard with the weather. There's tornadoes and hurricanes, floods, famines, explosions. There's all kinds of stuff going on everywhere. I feel bad for a lot of the people getting flooded out. Couldn't imagine what that'd be like, so my heart goes out to all those people. I know Louisiana, our next door neighbor's getting it hard. So hopefully everybody will be alright. Alright, so here's our bridge of truth. I always like to check for trolls. I always say under every bridge of truth, there's always a troll. Or 2, or 10. Oh, you y'all guys see any? I don't see any. Okay, so I hate selfies, but we'll do selfie time. Alright, I'm not feeling it today, guys, to be honest. But when has that ever stopped us before? So today's the 16th. Let me double check that. Yep. It's Wednesday the 17th. So of course I stand in the only spot where sun comes out all day. You gotta like that. Okay, I don't want to read any from yesterday. And we'll do the morning. So this is from Psalm 52:8, and it's the mercy of God. Mr. Spurgeon says, "Meditate a little on this mercy of the Lord. It is a tender mercy. With gentle, loving touch, he healed the broken in heart and binded up their wounds. He is as gracious in the manner of his mercy as in the matter of it. It is great mercy. There's nothing little in God. His mercy is like himself. It's infinite. You cannot measure it. His mercy is so great that it forgives great sins to great sinners. After great lengths of time, and then gives great favors and great privileges, and raises us up to be great enjoyments in the great heaven of the great God. It is undeserved mercy, as indeed all true mercy must be, for deserved mercy is only a misnomer for justice. There was no right on the sinner's part to the kind of consideration of the Most High God. Had the rebel been doomed at once to eternal fire, he would have richly merited the doom, and if delivered from wrath, sovereign love alone has found a cause, for there was none in the sinner himself." Sorry, guys. Told myself I wasn't going to leak today. So, it is rich mercy. Some things are great, but have little of efficacy in them. But this mercy is a cordial to your drooping spirits, a golden ointment to your bleeding wounds, a heavenly bandage to your broken bones, a royal chariot for your weary feet, a bosom of love for your trembling heart. It is manifold mercy. And as Bunyan says, and I'm guessing that's a contemporary of his, as Bunyan says, all the flowers in God's garden are double. There's no single mercy. You may think you have but one mercy, but you shall find it to be a whole cluster of mercies. It is abounding mercy. Millions have received it, yet far from its being exhausted, it is as fresh, as full, and as free as ever. It is unfailing mercy. It will never leave you. If mercy be your friend, mercy will be with you in temptation to keep you from yielding, with you in trouble to prevent you from sinking, with you living to be the light and life of your continence, and with you dying to be the joy of your soul when earthly comfort is ebbing fast. Wow. I need to focus more on God's mercy. Truly. My earthly comforts are dwindling. Wow. I mean, I'm really at a loss for words. We need to focus on God's mercy. That's all I can say. It's more than we could imagine. And it's never ending, so... I mean, Paul said we get more mercy when we sin, but should we sin more so we can get more? God forbid, you know. It's like, it's his... Well, it just said it was abundant, right? Abound. It abounds. Grace and mercy kind of go hand in hand. We don't deserve grace. That's what grace is. It's giving somebody what they don't deserve. And mercy is what we get through grace. And it's by faith. And salvation comes. So when we start to think on these things, there's nothing we could ever do to earn it or deserve it. So there's nothing in us that will ever get us mercy or grace except for the seed of faith. So we have to water and nurture that seed. Okay. Okay, this is from 2 Timothy chapter 3. I'm just going to read it. Maybe we'll break it down as we go, but this is a letter that Paul wrote to Timothy. Timothy's a young man, and Timothy's, in a sense, taken over for Paul after Paul dies. So, Paul's getting old and sickly, so he's starting to think about the future. And I can't remember if he's in prison at this point or not, but he's in prison often. And, you know, this is a warning that Paul gives to Timothy, but God gives to all of his saints. So it says, this know also, or know this also, that in the last days perilous times shall come. Now I qualify that statement, in the last days. Okay, the last days of Paul's life, or the last days after he's dead, and the transition of leadership moves over. Or is it the last days that Jesus was referring to when he said the end of the age or the end of the world? I tend to believe we live in these last days. No man can know the day or the hour, but we can know the year, we can know the season, we can know the month, we can even know the week. And I don't think we're as close as everybody thinks, but I think we're a lot closer than everybody realizes. So we always need to be prepared, but Paul was preparing Timothy here. And so, in the last days, perilous times shall come. And this says for men, but it's similar. It's the same for women. Men would be just everybody. I mean, the Bible is male specific often. But when it says, if it's good for men, it's good for women usually. Unless it distinguishes. So men is a generalization for mankind, right? So I would say people. For men shall be, okay, so for people shall be in the last days during these perilous times. Maybe that what brings about the peril. I don't know. But verse 2 says, for men shall be lovers of their own selves. Okay, selfish, egotistical, self-centered, selfie. Lovers of their own selves. Covetous. Okay, coveting is wanting what somebody else has. It could be a wife. You could want your neighbor's wife. It could be somebody else's phone. It could be somebody else's paycheck, somebody else's job, somebody else's car, somebody else's house, somebody else's life, somebody else's situation. I mean, whatever it is, covetous, wanting what other people have to an unhealthy degree. It's envy is one thing, jealousy is another, coveting is another, but they're all connected. So envy, I believe, turns to jealousy, and jealousy turns to greed, and they manifest in other different ways. But boasters, okay, so here you have people that brag or boast, people that build themselves up, people that build things up, experiences, situations, over embellishing stories, whatever it is. But a boaster, somebody who boasts. Proud, okay, so people that are proud. I mean, I think automatically my mind goes to gay pride. I'm not against gay people, but I'm against their lifestyle. So I love the sinner unconditionally, but I don't love the sin or the lifestyle and pride that's built around those lifestyles, and that applies to any sin. But proud would be indicative of having a seed of pride that's rooted. Okay, and then blasphemers. Well, God specifically says a handful of things are blasphemy. So that's specific to what is directly considered blasphemous. And these are people that do it willingly. Okay, maybe even unwillingly, but more often than not, it gets to a point to where you don't care, so you just do whatever. Disobedient to parents. Oh, we've got the millennial generation, Generation X and Y and Z. We got the hippie generation, if it feels good, do it. We've got a lot of sad parents throughout the generations lately, so. Unthankful. I don't know about you guys outside of this country, but in America, almost everybody, is unthankful for almost everything. It's not until you lose everything you have that you realize what you take for granted, and we should be thankful at all times. Starting to feel better already. Unholy. Holy is perfect, blameless, good, righteous, walking in integrity, wise. I mean, holy is a lot of things. God is holy. And the only little bit of holiness we have is what comes from Him by following Him proper. So verse 2, I'm going to read the list in just straight order. But so know this also, that in the last days perilous times shall come, for people will be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy. Verse 3, without natural affection. I think of that two ways. I mean, part of me goes to the LGBT agenda and think about the natural way of a man and a woman compared to a man and a man, or a woman and a woman, or the transgender, which some have very specific situations that don't apply to this natural affection. But there are some people that think that they can choose to change what God has created them to be. Now, some are a little more complicated and figure that out in the beginning of the birth and life and biochemistry and all that stuff. It gets very complicated. It's not as simple as saying, well, it's a choice, right? Sometimes doctors choose for the kids before the kids even know. So my heart goes out to transgendered people. But grown adults that want to live a certain way and want to change things, that's playing God yourself. But I don't think it's as applicable to the LGBT stuff without natural affection. I think of that more in the terms of, I've heard a lot of people, non-believers in particular, that believe that everybody is intrinsically good and that this world would be a good place without the bad people in it. I tend to disagree. I believe people are naturally bad and evil in their natural state. I don't think that's what they want, but I think that's who they become. A lot of it has to do with nature, and a lot of it has to do with nurture, and you could tap psychology and their studies and observations there to a degree. But ultimately, I think that if you come from a loving home, you might still end up with a kid that's not very loving. Or if you come from an unloving home, you might have one of the kids be very loving. So nature doesn't always dictate how your heart is, and nurturing doesn't always dictate how you develop or what you turn out to be in the end result. So usually there's something that comes along the way, something that happens. But in the laundry list here, without natural affection, I look at a lot of the generations that we have now that could care less about old people. And when I say old, I mean elderly. most cultures around the world value their elders, and we used to, and now we just stick them in a home and forget about them. And I'm not saying that that's wrong for everybody's situation. Some people need hospice, some people need to go to assisted living facilities, some people cannot be taken care of at home. So there's always an extenuating circumstance, or what do you call it? There's always special scenarios or circumstances that desperate times call for desperate measures. And I do feel like I don't generally believe in gray areas, but I do believe that things should be not one size fits all. It should be taken on a case by case basis. So if you don't care about elders and you just toss them aside, that's one thing. But if you, by caring for them, you have to put them aside, that's different. Same with a rebellious child. Whether they're grown or not, sometimes you might have to put that child away and love them from a distance, or let the adult go their own way and love them from a distance. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not without natural affection. That's actually sometimes the most affectionate thing you can do, is cut people off or cut them out of your life. And when they turn around and get right, then maybe they'll come back and apologize, maybe not. But sorry to go off on that, but without natural affection is an important one, I think. And then you have trucebreakers. Okay, to make a truce is to make a peace or to come to an arrangement or an agreement. So if you're going to break that, then you intentionally never intended to keep your word. And back in these days, your word was your bond. And not too long ago here, your word was your bond. That's cool. I mean, if your word is your bond, then if you say it, you mean it. And if you got to mean what you say and say what you mean, because that's what it is to be honest and upright. If you're a truce breaker, though, who could ever trust you? If you don't stand by your own words, then all it is hot air coming out of your mouth. Okay, so wow, this little dude's he was just chilling. I was gonna turn it around, but that's awesome. He's gone now. False accusers. Okay, that's somebody who makes an accusation that is not true, and that's very clear. That's not just a liar, but that's an accusation. It's one thing to lie to cover your own ass. It's another thing to lie to get somebody else's in trouble. And that's what a false accuser will do. So they'll stir the pot, and then they'll step back and watch that spoon in the pot stirring by itself, and they'll say, "Look what I did. Look what I created." Incontinent. Not really sure what incontinent is, but context clues is all we really need to figure out it's not good. Fierce. Okay, so I think of fierce as being quick to wrath, quick to anger, quick to rage, road rage. Fierce. I mean, fierce in battle is good, but fierce in life, well, unless you're attacking life with positivity and love, maybe fierce is a negative connotation, more towards violence, is what I would think. Despisers of those that are good, or despisers of good. Wow, when this country in particular, we're making things that are bad seem to be good for all, in a one-size-fits-all kind of thing. So let's not offend anybody, and let's make bad things good for you, good for me. Those who are awake are not happy about it, and so these people that despise good, they'll change the dialogue about what good is and what good is not. So but the fact that they're despisers of those that are good, or good itself. To hate good, well, if you hate goodness or good, then you're going to hate people that embody that or express it. There's never been a more, in my life, there's never been a time where I've seen more people express nice, good things and then get a lot of heat for it. And I'm just like, I had a post, okay, let's see, many months ago now, I think it was February or March of this year, and I posted a post that was very secular. Didn't have hardly any scripture, didn't mention Jesus too much, and it was basically just saying, hey, I've been in dark places, I've been pretty effed up in my life, and you're never too far away from help, and as long as somebody's always going to care, I'll be the one. And if I have to reach back into the darkness I got out of, then here's my hand, take it, and I'll help you out. And that's pretty much the gist of the whole thing. I refer to an oubliette, which is a French type prison where there's only one way out is up, right? And if you're too far down, you can't get out without help. So I was saying, if you're stuck in the oubliette of life, then the light you see at the top has my hand coming out of it, and come walk with me. And I spent 2 hours tagging people in the order that I met them and knew them and hung out with them. And it was a lot of people that I did wrong with, or to, or for, or against, or whatever. But it was a lot of people that have known me and from young. I'm the same guy today I always was, but I'm a better person today than I used to be. But I'm consistent. I'm consistently always real. I'm consistently the guy that's thinking and caring. And I don't plan on changing that. And so some of the people that have seen me at my worst realize that even at my worst, it wasn't as bad as a lot of others, but it was still bad, And I'm not at my best yet, but I'm working on it, and I'm working towards that. And so this was my way of saying, hey, I've put away a lot of childish things, and I can help you put away childish things if you feel like you're too caught up or too lost or left behind. I'm willing to stop and wait for you to catch up, or I'll walk backwards to come meet you at least halfway. And I got banned, even though it wasn't preaching. I got banned on indefinite amount of time where I couldn't post or share posts. I couldn't tag anybody. They call it Facebook jail, but usually they give you a sentence for how long you'll be on whatever you call it, and it never told me. I tried to get in touch with Facebook, whoever works for Facebook, right? And they wouldn't respond back to me after like 5 questions. And man, it was really bad, and it started debate, so people were arguing and yelling at each other, and I was just like, man, you try and do a good thing, and this is how people behave or respond. Oh, I don't want you preaching at me. I'm like, I gave a Native American proverb, which lines up with Scripture, but I don't think I gave one single Scripture quote. I might have mentioned Jesus, maybe, but this was for people who aren't on the level, so I wasn't trying to give them the spiritual things they wouldn't understand anyways. But man, I got so much heat, and I got in trouble with Facebook, but yet I saw a picture a week or two later of a dead naked baby, and a guy said, if you don't like this post, you're going to hell. And I privately asked that guy, please take this down. I have a dead baby, man, and I don't want to see dead naked babies on Facebook. So sorry that it came up on my feed, but can you please take this post down? It's offensive to some, and I'm offended. And it's not your fault, but please. Didn't respond back to me. I sent him a second private message saying, hey man, please, dude, it keeps popping up on my feed, and I don't want to deal with it with Facebook. I would rather you just have some respect and take it down for those that it offends. And I looked on his timeline. It looked like an Arab guy who's not even Christian that just posts things that are like, clickbait type stuff. But I reported it to Facebook after a week or so went by. I didn't